back home, back to the work grind. Let's just go. I made it back in one piece. A decent time, I think. It's about 3 o'clock. I still have some of the day left, which is kind of nice, but I'll probably just hang out with Mickey pretty much the rest of the day. I think I'm able to move on to the next session, creation for Beyond Tells, and then hopefully get started on some of this Atlantic City vlog footage. I am pretty pumped about it. It was a great trip overall. Pretty excited, but really glad to be home. Oh man. Oh god. Okay, so yes, this is gone. Yes, I look ridiculously young. Now that that's out of the way, today is Thursday. I'm pretty much finished editing the Atlantic City vlogs. There's just one left to go. I think you guys are gonna like it. Now, today, I think I'm gonna go play so that I actually have some other content to turn into vlogs for you guys. The plan is to go run. Today's the first day that I don't get a walking period during my run, so that'll be interesting. And then I'm gonna shower, eat, probably do a little bit of study, not really like hard study, but just kind of some warm-up stuff. I like to watch some poker and run through my thought process a little bit, pre-sessions if I can do it. I already did mindfulness practice today, which I'm trying to bring back into my life. And then once I finish eating, the plan is pretty much to head to the casino. There is a lot of stuff going on at work, so if that comes up, I might have to cut my session short. But the plan is to play from roughly 2 p.m. to 6 or 7. And then that's around when Mickey will get home from her classes. So, did I ever mention that Mickey's in grad school? She's in a program for teaching that also gets her master's at the same time. So, that's pretty cool. She's teaching high school. I think that's it. Let's just go. You know, it's a little embarrassing to say this, but there's certain kinds of songs that I don't really find musically that stimulating. You don't know this about me. How could you? I've never told you. But I minored in music in college, and I actually almost double majored in it with physics. That was my major, if you can believe that. So I know a lot about music. I definitely prefer, in general, songs that I think have higher musical complexity. But then there's some songs that just make you feel something, you know? They just make you feel some kind of emotion or just get you in the mood for something. No, not that. Anyway, Pandora's on. Taylor Swift's Bad Blood just came on. Oh yeah, let's run. Whew. Only 2 Taylor Swift songs came up, but it was enough. It was enough to get me through. So just gotta go shower now, eat, and then I'm hopefully gonna go play as long as nothing's like on fire at School of Cards. I get notifications on my phone, so I'm hoping that will be a non-issue. I think it's interesting how the beginning of these runs was too easy for me. That was almost enough for me to not keep going. It's like when something's too easy, there's no challenge to it, and it got harder. And even though it got harder, I still felt the desire to keep going. I still felt the desire to stick with it, you know? I think the challenge is part of that. And I think while ego plays a big part in people playing too high in poker, you know, either outside of their bankroll or just, you know, outside of their skill level, really. I think the challenge is part of it. I mean, it's ego, like definitely people think that they're better than they are. That's almost universally true. But at the same time, I think the challenge, you know, calls some people. And I'm like that too. I want to be playing big tournaments. I want to be playing bigger cash games against tougher competition. And for the most part, I've shied away from it because
you know, whatever, I have a limited bankroll, or because I don't think I'm skilled enough. But I still have that desire. I still want to do it. It's just a matter of, do I? 12 minutes behind schedule, and that's including not showering yet, so I've got to take a speed shower, try to eat lunch quick. Let's go. Nothing was on fire at School Card, but I did have to do some work just because we're actually launching a new course in the next couple of days here. It's called Ranges Unleashed. If you guys are interested, I'll leave a link in the description. Just say that I sent you. It means I'll get a little bit of a kickback if you end up signing up for a course. And that all goes to making the vlog better. So I'd really appreciate it. And while you're at it, think about subscribing. That way you'll know when I put videos out and stuff like that. I'm gonna go play. This might be the worst parking job I have ever done at a casino. Normally I park on the top floor here, but the normal parking entrance is closed. I think they're expanding the garage, so I just decided to take a spot down here that will be, I think, less travel time. So anyone who hasn't been to Maryland Live before, it's basically attached to a mall, the Anne Arundel Mall. So that's why there's like a bajillion cars here.
The way that
This game was sort of passive, I guess you could say. It was a little bit unusual in the sense that people were actually fairly tight at 1-2. A lot of sunglasses and hoodies at this 1-2 table. Yeah, I mean, I started out kind of opening a little bit wide, just kind of sort of giving action, trying to loosen the game up a little bit, winning small pots here and there. But I did eventually start getting some action back, as you'll see. So in this hand, there's a straddle to 5, folds around all the way to me on the button. I open King 10 offsuit to 22, mostly just trying to take it down and make it obvious that I'm willing to put the money in here because the guy who's in the straddle doesn't have a lot of money behind. So folds the straddle, who picks his cards up off the table and is looking at them, and I jokingly say something like, "That good, huh?" Because I mean, they don't usually pick their cards all the way up off the table if they've got like aces or something, you know? He eventually sets them back down and tosses in his stack, which is 2 green chips, 4 red chips, and 3 white chips. So action's on me. I just make the call. I think that he's never going to be that strong, and I'll be dominated once in a while, but a lot of the times he's just gonna have like 8-9 suited or something, and I'm just gonna have all the equity in the world. So I toss it in. The board runs out with 2 kings and a bunch of bricks. I turn it over, and my hand is good. So I don't really know what he had here, but just kind of the way he looked at the board and was sort of waiting for me to turn my hand over at showdown. I don't think he really had much and was just sort of, trying to take down the 22 or, get all the money in regardless. In this next hand, this guy who seems kind of semi-pro-ish, or at least like a serious amateur, he's under the gun and he open limps. There's one more limp and I'm in the cutoff with ace-jack offsuit, and I bump it up to 12. I could go bigger, and I would sometimes go bigger, but the table's been folding a lot, so I don't think I need to go larger than this right now. The big blind and under the gun limper both call. Flop is king 8-3 rainbow and checks to me. I had c-bet like just the previous hand, I think, and I decided that this is a good spot to just check it one time. Not always going to do it. Sometimes I'll keep hammering away c-betting, but I just decided this time to check, and this is a pretty good hand to do it with since I do have some showdown value and I have a backdoor. The turn is 10, which is the second club on board. Big blind checks, under the gun bets 25, and I decide to peel with my gut shot and ace high. Big blind folds, and we're off to a river. River's the 4 of hearts, and he now bets 50. Kind of an awkward spot. It's hard for me to think that he really has something good. There's a lot of hands that missed, and not a ton of King X that I think that he would open limp pre. So I just didn't, it was really hard for me to put him on a good hand. So I ended up kind of making a sheepish crying call. Like, I wasn't that sure that it was a good call, but I just had trouble putting him on a hand. So I call. He turns over pocket jacks, which surprised me on pretty much every level. I mean, the only street that he played the way I would have expected was the flop. Pre-flop, I'm shocked that he didn't raise pre. On the flop, checking makes sense once he plays it that way pre-flop, I guess. But then on the turn in river, I actually like his bets, but they're not what I would expect from a typical 1-2 player. So it was just a very weird array of actions all put together. So that one goes to him. He asked me something like, ace 10 no good, like he thought I had ace 10, and I was like, ace high no good. I get to look a little bit foolish once in a while on here. Keeps me in check. In this next hand, there's a middle position limp. I have 6-4 of diamonds in the hijack, and I go ahead and bump it up to 12. It's not a very good hand. But I'm not the pre-flop police. The button and middle position limper both call. Flop comes queen 7-6, and it checks to me. I decide to c-bet 23. I do kind of have some showdown value, but basically every turn card is bad for us, so I just figured taking it down now would be pretty good. If I do get called and I'm behind, I have some equity, and sometimes I'll be able to just barrel it off. Middle position is the only caller. The turn's the queen of clubs. He checks, and I'm just kind of starting to cut out chips, thinking I might bet, but I haven't really decided yet. He doesn't seem that happy about me cutting out chips, so I do go ahead and put in the double barrel. Put that second bullet in, and he folds. Always nice to see that second bullet pay off, especially after we take some questionable hand pre-flop to the flop and play it aggressively. Wouldn't always recommend trying that at home, but I guess I did try it at home. In this hand, there's an under the gun limp, and I open pocket queens and under the gun +1 to 12. The button and the limp are both call, so we go 3 ways to a flop. Flop is ace 7-3 all clubs, so not exactly the flop I'm looking for with red queens, but we know what to do. Checks to me, I go ahead and check as well, and the button luckily checks behind, so don't have to face any weird decisions here. The turn's the jack of spades, under the gun checks to me again. I expect to have the best hand a good portion of the time now, and I can probably get at least one street of value, so I go ahead and bet 20. The button calls now, and under the gun folds. The river's the 2 of clubs, which is definitely not a card I wanted to see. I think it's going to be pretty impossible to get value from anything worse, so I check. He checks and instantly turns over 10 of spades, 9 of hearts. And from the way he turned it over, it's pretty clear he thought that it was either going to win or like very likely to win. He has 10 high, but I suspect that he thinks it's the 10 of clubs in his hand because of how he turns it over. So I turn over my hand, obviously, and I win. And yes, he did think that it was the 10 of clubs and not the 10 of spades. And he says something kind of interesting. He says, if I realized it was the 10 of spades, I would have raised you on the turn, which I thought was kind of weird. I feel like if he was going to play the hand differently, it should have been to just bet the flop, or I don't know. I mean, I'd probably still just call the turn if I was him. It seems kind of weird to like check back that flop and then decide to get aggressive with just the 10 of clubs in your hand on the turn. I think he might have just been trying to save some face, though. In this hand, middle position, the hijack, the cutoff, and the small blind all limp to me. I'm in the big blind, I have ace king of hearts, and I bump it up to $15, which I think is not quite big enough, although I was getting a lot of folds pre-flop in hands that you're not seeing here, because who wants to watch me just raise pre-flop over limpers and get the folds, right? I make it 15, though, and everyone calls. The flop comes queen 10 for no hearts. I don't really think that there's a good reason to bet here into so many players on a board that's going to connect with limp calling ranges so much. So it checks to the cutoff, and he bets $25. Folds to me, and I peel. I think it's a little bit thin. I do have a gut shot in 2 overs, but this player is fairly new to the game. I don't think he's buying the pot, really. I mean, it's like a fairly protected pot with so many people in there, and even though he's last to act, I just don't think people are going to stab here often enough. So I could probably just fold this hand. That being said, I probably don't check like any ace queen or king queen in this spot. So the best hands in my range are probably something like ace 10 and like pocket jacks. So having ace king in my calling range might be okay, but I'd kind of prefer having something with a backdoor flush draw at least. However, all of that extra thinking goes out the window when we turn the nuts on a jack. I check, the cutoff bet's 50, and it's back to me. I think it's a pretty clear check raise spot because this player can definitely have 2 pair. He can have some sets, and he might even have worse straights occasionally. I can't exactly see his stack, but I also kind of hate asking what his stack is in this kind of spot. And I'm pretty sure he starts the street with like around 300. I just bump it up to 140, leaving myself only 110 behind. And he actually pretty much insta-calls, which is weird. I expected him to either tank, call, or like insta-jam. Like if he just thinks ace queen is the nuts or something. The river's an interesting card. It's an offsuit 9, which I don't think is the best. It does kind of kill action against 2 pair and sets. But if he were to have something like king jack or king queen, he now obviously has a straight, and he would not hesitate to put the money in. I go ahead and jam. He tank calls, and it turns out it's only for his last $60. But he does call with queen 10, and I get almost a full double up. So that was a fun hand. After that, only played a couple orbits more. Not really anything too interesting happened. Ended up cashing out, I think, a profit of 230. So not bad for just, a 3 or 4 hour session. And, first session back in Maryland. Booked the win, kept the win streak alive. What is it now, like 6 wins? 5 wins? It's a lot of wins. So let's see. So I had 1 at the home game in the Boston area. And then I had 3 wins at Harrah's at AC. And then 1 win at Borgata in AC. And now this one. That's 6 wins. I'm starting to get that like little bit of antsiness, like just a little bit on edge about playing, because I'm like, I don't want to break the win streak. I don't want to, have that one session where I make some stupid mistake and I end up booking like a minus $20 loss. But it's been nice to book some wins after not having great winning cash sessions in Vegas. Just kind of get back on the horse here and be reminded that I am allowed to win in some sessions. Back home, this thing's still on the fritz, but in for 300, out for 530. So plus 230. The win streak continues. I booked another win. Got past the hat trick in Atlantic City. I think I even made it technically. What was I at? Because I had the home game. Right? Fuck. Well, I finally figured out why my phone was freaking out. It's because I was basically out of storage, and it decided not to give me any kind of warning up until just not allowing me to film anything. So that was great. That should be fixed now. 6 wins in a row for the vlog. Let's just keep going. I don't believe in jinxing it. I know this is just, one of those unlikely series of events, but hey, playing in soft games, I'm gonna try to play good. Let's keep it going. Anyway, I'm gonna eat dinner soon. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button. Think about sharing it with a friend. Don't forget to subscribe and leave me a comment down below. I'll see you guys next time.